Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this little video. Yes, I'm gonna keep doing that until I figure out what to say. But, yeah, as some of you may know, if you follow my Twitter, I've been streaming ArcheAge, and I'm actually getting a schedule done for it, so ArcheAge will be a regular thing, especially when it releases. And I've been playing it for the last week, and I've really taken a liking to it. Normally I don't take much likings to MMOs, especially grandeur MMOs like this, where it's just the same hotbar combo system and things like that. But I've taken a strong liking to this game. The game is beautiful, it's open, it's expansive, and I'm recommending it to some of my friends. I'm not recommending them to drop $150 right now just to play it with me, unless you're planning to play 3 months after its launch. But I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. But let's get started. I have some issues with the game, some things I like, some things I favor, some things I really am a little annoyed by. But then again, I have not seen the full extent of the game. I've been goofing off mainly and just exploring some of the terrain, which is spectacular to say the least. I really don't get very involved in some games, especially as involved as I've been with this one. So, to me, that says a lot. First thing I want to point out about this game that really didn't interest me much, but it's something I've chugged through because it's entertaining enough for me to actually play with, is the main feature of the game, the combat. Combat is the first thing you see in these MMOs, it's the first thing that you're exposed to, and it's the main thing you're exposed to throughout the game. And to me, it felt pretty generic. It felt like a standard hotbar. Tap 1, tap 2, tap 3, then 4, then 1, then 2, then 4, then 1, then just sequential according to cooldowns. But what kept me enticed the whole entire time of the combat system was the fact that it's a combo system. It's a chain system where certain attacks lead into others and have certain special effects and certain damage effects, and everything has its own mix and feel, and it changes according to the situation. If you need to deal more damage to an enemy to kill him quicker, then do a high damage combo. If the enemy is larger than you and it's posing a bigger threat, then do trip combos. Combos that'll knock them down flat on their butts, very much. And then just keep them controlled and suppressed where they really can't fight back. And then there's others combos that just weaken them, and so on and so forth. And that variety actually makes every encounter slightly different, based on the enemy type, the enemy's style, and what does the situation really portray. The combat system it's very interchangeable and it's very enjoyable. And not like other traditional MMOs, this game actually gives you a lot of freedom, a lot of variety. You're not restricted to certain weapon types or armor types. You're very open and expanded to what you can use. To some people, this is pretty much like the Elder Scrolls, where you can do what you want, how you do it, whenever you want to do it. But completely different. This game also gives you the option to change your skill trees. You get to pick 3 skill trees right off the bat. You pretty much have your main tree, which exists of the 6 core skills. My bad. Of the 6 core skills, you have the traditional mage, ranger, rogue, your traditional tank, your traditional healer, and it's interesting. Like, it's nice to see some variety in the open classes instead of the main 3-prong, so you have the main 6. And not just that, after you go in and you actually unlock your second skill tree, you get slightly more variety outside of the 6. In the end, there is something about 120 combinations for classes. You can pick 3 of them at any point in the game and just make your own unique class. And they all have their own little interesting titles. The Romantic Knight, the White Knight, the Dark Knight, the Martial Arts Master, the Inquisitor, the Shadow Step, the Demonologist, and so on and so forth. Which gives every character creation a sense of uniqueness. Because you won't find the exact same Dark Knight or the exact same warrior running about everywhere. Because there's 120 combos. You might see it every now and again, not every 5 feet. aside from the core mechanics, there are the secondary mechanics, which was the main reason I actually got involved into this game. Most games don't actually have the secondary mechanics, which give the game longevity and background detail outside of the combat, but this game actually does. The background details I enjoy about this game are things like crafting, exploration, you can do farming, mining, and so on and so forth. This game pretty much encourages you to have a life in the game of sorts. You have to be invested into the environment, invested into your surroundings, and just go out there and be part of the community. Some of the best things in the game are player crafted. All the weapons and armor actually excel some of the better rarity gear in the game. Currently I have a level 34 warrior of sorts, I have an inquisitor, and I had really good armor. I was like, this is some powerful armor. I can't find any armor to actually outrank it. But then I went in and decided, let me try crafting some armor for a change. And I found out that the lowest tier armor I can craft pretty much almost surpassed the armor I had. Then the second tier of that armor just flat out blew my other armor out of the water. Not just that, the armor system isn't like most traditional systems where it's like, oh look, you have to craft your own armor, you have to craft it from scratch every single tier. What this does, it uses the previous tier as a base point for the upgrade and the expansion, so it requires you going up and down the tree constantly. So you feel involved and invested when you're actually going into crafting items. Another secondary mechanic that I like was the farming system, the housing. You can actually have your own player house to use for storage or crafting or anything of that nature you actually desire. Make it represent you as a player more than anything else. And then there's farms where you can grow your own crops, grow your own trees, just pretty much store things overall. And actually go do commerce trades. You can go do trade runs and get invested into the world as a trader. The economy in this game is pretty much live. It's ongoing. It's always fluctuating at its own independent interval. It doesn't actually affect the main game whatsoever, but it will affect other players doing commerce in the region. And not just that, not many other games actually offer this mechanic of boating, of sailing and exploring the open seas. The game has a triple continent system. It has the north, the east, and the west. The east and the west are player factions. Those are factions based on your character creation, on the character's race, of the European style and the Japanese style of sorts. And it's interesting to see players pretty much being faction specific and faction loyal. And those players in guilds large enough are going to the northern continent and setting up their own faction, their own system, their own towns, their own castles, and eventually they're setting up their own faction to do their own pretty much politics in the game. Clan politics in this game are a big thing, not like other games where it's clan politics amongst rivaling clans, rivaling factions, and they're just fighting it out and saying pretty words. This actually has some consequence in the world in the northern continent. And lastly, the other mechanic is the whole entire jury system. You pretty much see players going into court and they have to testify for themselves or for others and pretty much defend themselves by saying, why do I have these many assaults? Why do I have these many murders? Why do I have 27 accounts of theft? And it's very interesting on paper, but when you start seeing in practicality, it's pretty difficult. Like, it's difficult to actually go up there and say, I defended myself because I was getting attacked by someone and I consequently killed the guy, or I was attacking him because he attacked my friend and thus I was marked a criminal. And most people just see it. It's like, you're pretty much being held for a crime, and no matter what, you have to go to jail. People can say you're innocent or you're guilty, and it's very hit and miss. I've seen people go into jail for 30 minutes for a lesser crime, and it's only like 17 accounts of assault and like 2 murders. And then someone that has dealt pretty much 30 thefts, 10 murders, and 7 assaults go in there for like 2 minutes. I'm like, what the hell? It's very hit and miss. So I want to see that being more fleshed out, more fair, I don't know how they're gonna do it, but it's an interesting concept, but practicality, it's not very viable. And the last thing about this game that I love so much is the world. It's very expansive, it's very large, there's always something to find around every corner, and you will get lost in its vast nature and its open nature of the game. Going from zone to zone, I do not see any loading screens. There are practically no loading screens. The only loading screens I've seen are going into these instant dungeons, these instant raids, and just teleporting from one side of the map to the other. But otherwise, you can seamlessly go back and forth between sectors. And there's even blimps and carts going about for those people that just can't walk it out and they want a faster method of transportation, especially when they're doing heavy commerce. The world is expansive. I cannot emphasize this enough. It is large, it is massive, there's a lot of things to explore, a lot of territories. Most of the sections in the game are open PvP, which makes it a big factor amongst risk versus reward. And some of the better items are actually in the PvP territories, because it's just that much more dangerous. Like some of the better housing, some of the better farming areas, some of the higher level quests are in this area, so it will force you to chug through them. But there are alternative ways of leveling. Pretty much the crafting and the exploration mechanics give all fair amounts of XP. And even if you're boating, like there's even an underwater segment. Like if you have scuba gear, you can pretty much go underwater and just explore the ocean depths and find buried treasure, sunken ships, go fishing and gather the fishes with your hands, pretty much with a net, and even find the Kraken, either above or below. The Kraken is pretty much a roaming monster, and it's pretty devastating. It's destroyed ships on a whim, and it's spooky. It's really spooky. But overall, would I really recommend this game for most users right now in its current alpha state, which is $150? No, unless you're going to invest 3 months into the game. If you see this as a game you're willing to invest 3 months of playtime upon release, which is pretty much what you're paying for. $150 is getting you 3 months premium along with $75 worth of microtransactions. This game will be free to play, so waiting a little bit until its release, if you don't want to drop $150 on it, it's fine by me. I will suggest it for most people that are not very sure for themselves. But again, if you're thinking about dropping $150, if the option's still available, only do it if you're going to play the game for 3 months. Do you see yourself playing this game for 3 months? Do you see yourself playing it for more than 3 months? Will you be invested into the world enough to actually justify this purchase? So far in the week and a half I've played, I feel as if the purchase was justifiable. I feel that I'm enjoying the time I spent on it. I'm enjoying the quality of the game. Everything is going to be wiped before launch, so you can't get invested into the alpha character, because it is not the final character you will have. They want to make it fair for everyone and give people that bought into the alpha and beta a 4-day head start. They're going to wipe it a week before launch, give everyone 4 days to play the game, get invested, set down houses, get as far as they want, get some of the better territories, and then they open the floodgates and pretty much free to play will just start swarming the area. And they're being extremely fair with this game. Like, if you don't want to drop a penny on it, almost everything is accessible in some method or some form or another. And then there's the alternative of paying for convenience, which is pretty much buying straight out premium membership. Premium membership is patron status, and there will be a way to obtain that in-game. It's not been clarified exactly how, and we don't know exactly what the final details for the microtransactions will be. But the way that Tryon Worlds is taking XL Games IP and doing it here in the West, it's pretty fair. It's very interesting, and I just can't wait to see how the game does in the end. So that pretty much gives my opinion on the game. I will be streaming this game on Mondays and Tuesdays, most likely. So hit me up on twitch.tv/darkfreak and stop by and say hi if I'm streaming on Monday or Tuesday. Otherwise, I'll be streaming some other casual games on Wednesday, Thursday being Throwback Thursday in the evenings, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Those are to be pending because the game is not out yet. So, thanks for sitting with me for the last 15-16 minutes, and take it easy, have fun, and see you guys in game. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why we don't give too much player freedom in a game. Someone got the boat on land, and they're being land pirates. Just another day on ArcheAge. Just another day on ArcheAge. Onward and forward! Onward and forward.